16 years ago. I'm 12 years old. I'm reviewing like a mobile app, and then you can see the progressions. And I did hundreds of app promotion. The YouTube channel, I basically was able to automate and systematize the whole thing, get sponsorships, ad revenue from it, $150,000, $200,000.
Aleric Heck, the YouTube ads and video marketing guru and founder of AdOutreach.
The guy who built an 8-figure empire from a YouTube app review channel and now helps entrepreneurs worldwide scale with high-impact video ads.
Turning content into real revenue.
There was a point where I had gotten off of sales calls, and I remember you kind of hopping out of the room and hopping on like a 5-10 minute call. And I asked you, like, what are you doing? Like, you're like, oh yeah, well, I'm just finishing this deal. And I'm like, well, why are you doing that? You got a whole sales team. Like, I have a whole sales team. Like, aren't we told, like, here's the value of our time? Like, And I remember you saying, you're just like, if this person just needs a 5-10 minute call, I'm just going to hop on. And I think I had too rigid of like a structure in my own mind of like, no, I don't do those anymore. My team will do it. Now, it's not just about helping that deal come through. It's also establishing a relationship with a high level person and then the tone that sets as a client.
So Aleric, I met you when you're just beginning. I want everyone to kind of have a context. Like, how did you get started? Because you started pretty young. You said 19. So I always find it fascinating when someone's a little bit younger and they start business. So what even got you moving into business? And then I guess I was right when you graduated high school or first year in college?
Let's
talk about that.
My first year in college when I started this business AdOutreach on the YouTube ad side. But I actually started even before that with a YouTube channel. So I started when I was 12 with a YouTube channel, doing app reviews, tech tutorials. Grew that to over 600,000 subscribers. So I had all these people watching.
You still have that channel?
I still have that channel. Actually, I'm about to rebrand it. I might turn it into an AI tech channel.
Have you posted on it in years?
Yeah, so I actually have had, for the last like 3-4 years, I've had this guy who's like been a friend of mine for a while. He's out in Silicon Valley, and he basically is like really into tech. So he's been the face of the channel more recently. So he's been doing videos on every new iPhone that came out, consumer tech. We got to the point where we just, he's going to pursue some other ventures going into the end of this year. And it made me think, well, I've got a YouTube channel with 600,000 subscribers and, it talks about the latest tech, but I'm going to probably pivot that to an AI channel. I have my other channel too, just my Aleric Heck channel that I've been growing. That's more talks about marketing, but it's a little bit more niched. This is an opportunity to talk about AI. So
does that channel you've had since you're 12, like, have you been posting on it like every single year consistently? Like,
so somebody has been. So I stopped posting on it about 6 years ago, and then I went through 2 content creators, each of them about a year. And then I brought in the most recent content creator for the past few years. But that's coming to a close, a natural kind of conclusion on that side. And so I want to keep it going. So I'm probably
what was the thought process for that? Like, why keep it going? Why not, like, why even do that in the first place? What was the thought process?
Well, it's like an asset, right? So it's a profitable asset that can run in the background. So even though it wasn't quite doing as well as like in its peak, and of course my main business, AdOutreach, that's like that's the main one.
Right.
But the YouTube channel, I basically was able to automate and systematize the whole thing. So I had a face of the channel. And I still have right now, but we're just going to look at what's going to change next year. But a face of the channel, a ability to get sponsorships and ad revenue from it, and then also just being able to keep up with the latest like content and trends. And that channel, that does, it's like $150,000, $200,000 a year, but that's an asset. So it's like one of those things where also you can stop producing content on it and it won't do the sponsorship revenue, but it'll do ad revenue. So it's an asset. I decided not to sell it because it's part of my journey and story. And so people can go back and literally look at the first video that I did on that channel like 16 years ago. I'm 12 years old. I'm reviewing like a mobile app and I'm like, this is a fun app that I found. And then you can see the progression. So I think it's, in this era where, and it's great people are starting younger and younger, but also, sometimes people kind of are appearing overnight, right? Or even people think I had like a, overnight success, but it's actually 16 years like in the making with YouTube channel and then diving into YouTube ads. So
okay, so you started that as a young kid. What even made you start that as a young kid? Like, where does those thoughts come from to even start a channel and apps and that type of thing? Was that your parents?
So, my parents always encouraged me to be creative, but I always loved 2 things. Filming videos. And there's a picture of me when I was like 6 or 7. I had a video camera. It's like the size of my, head or whatever. I'm just like filming these videos with friends. So I would film videos. But then on the other side, I also loved business and marketing without really realizing that that's what I loved. So it was the classic,
that young?
lemonade. Well, so my first way I got into marketing was I had a lemonade stand when I was a kid. And so, I do the classics, lemonade, cookie, you get a bundle deal. And people would walk down the street. I know, it's the cliche, like every entrepreneur.
Funny, man.
But people would walk down the street to go to the local swim and tennis club and stop at my lemonade stand and buy lemonade. But then, that was over the summer, but then in the fall, people weren't really walking down the street anymore. They were all driving because I used to live in Massachusetts, so it was kind of colder there. Yeah. So I thought to myself, well, where do people go? And this is when I was 8, 9, 10. Where do people go in the fall? They go to yard sales. So I pull out the paper. I look for yard sales. I literally went to the door, door to door, and I knocked on the door. Because I was in the Boy Scouts, so I would sell the Boy Scout popcorn stuff. So I knocked on the door of somebody that had a yard sale coming up, and I said, hey, can I sell, my lemonade at your yard sale? And you can have as much lemonade as you want. That was my pitch. They can have as much lemonade as they want, but I get to sell the lemonade. It's to go where the people are. That's my first memory of marketing and getting excited about that, because then I would set myself up at that yard sale selling lemonade there where people were going.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my first original view of marketing.
Did your parents push you into this type of stuff? Or not really?
Not really, but they gave me the freedom and creativity and flexibility to do that. So,
do you have siblings?
Yeah.
Do are they older or younger?
Younger. I've got a younger brother.
Okay, so you were kind of going the first person on this path then, kind of forging the way. Okay. Yeah. So how do we go from that to AdOutreach that you started? I guess after high school, or was it your first year in college?
Yeah. So AdOutreach, I started my first year in college. Well, actually, it was kind of between my freshman and sophomore years when I started that summer. But basically, I had the YouTube channel. So going back from the two things I loved is video and then also kind of business and marketing, I created the AppFind YouTube channel at 12, grew that. By the time I was in college, I had a few 100,000 subscribers. And that's when I hired some of my first people. I read the 4-Hour Workweek, like a lot of people, they dive in and do that. But I think those of us, I know you're on the same wavelength as this. So those of us that are a little crazy, we read that and we say, okay, how can I automate this business so I can launch my next business? And that's what I did. So I automated the YouTube channel business, which is what allowed me to continue just to do it, although I was still the face of it for a while. But I hired other college students to do script writing, video editing, business development to respond to emails. Yeah. At this point, I had all these mobile apps that were sponsoring the channel. And I did hundreds of app promotions. So independent apps would reach out, $500 to $2,500. I would do a video on the channel. They'd get a bunch of downloads. One of the apps said, hey, how can I get more people to see the video, or app developers said, how can I get more people to see the video featuring our app? And that's when I thought about it for a second. And I thought, well, what about YouTube ads? Wait a second, we could do YouTube ads with this. Mm-hmm. And this was 10 years ago. So 2015, I was a freshman in college. I run a YouTube ad to that video. They get thousands of downloads for a pretty low ad spend. Yeah. And now they're excited. So they tell their developer friends that have a much bigger budget. So now I'm running another ad campaign and then another ad campaign. It was kind of word of mouth.
So you actually start with apps.
I started with apps, YouTube ads for mobile apps. This is also the app heydays. Think 2015, 2016, everybody had a mobile app. Yeah. And then I went to HubSpot to kind of tie it all together to get to the point where we met. So I went to HubSpot Inbound back in 2016. Okay. So I went there. It was in Boston. And that was my first conference, business conference that I went to. And there they had the ClickFunnels booth. And I remember signing up for ClickFunnels at this booth because they were a sponsor there. And I signed up. And then I asked, well, how can I build this strategy for I was thinking more of an agency, for an agency type business. Mm-hmm. And they were at the time it was more about the info side, which was exciting. And so later I got into that really quickly. But basically I was trying to Google, okay, how can I do, build an agency on ClickFunnels, and that's where traffic and funnels came up, and one of the early, mastermind that we were both in back in the day, and I remember signing up for that in my college dorm room. I was that was by the time it was my sophomore year, and I had the business. I was doing YouTube ads for mobile apps, and I remember getting on a call with Taylor back then. And him just saying, hey, you get into this world, like the high ticket world, it's gonna change your life. And then I took I dove in and built up from there. And that's where we met and built things out. And yeah.
How'd you have time to do that in college? I never understand how people are like building businesses in college. Maybe it's because I was playing sports, but I still feel like that's a lot, right?
Yeah, I think I think it would be really a lot if you were doing sports and the college and a business. Yeah. So I would think about the business as like sports and maybe then some, but basically what I was doing. And also I had started that, I was kind of like halfway through my sophomore years when I signed up for that, because originally it was more, testing around with it. But that's when I took it serious, because like, all right, now I'm in a mastermind, now I'm learning the strategies. And so what I did, I kind of made do the rest of that year, but come my junior year, I had more control over my schedule. And what I was able to do was take all of my classes for my junior and senior year and stack them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So there was like one class that wasn't. I literally stacked them from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I barely had time to eat lunch. I would have to like just grab like lunch real quick and eat it in class. And then I think I had one other, and it also changed the different semesters, but like there's one or two other classes that were like on a random like Wednesday or whatever. But in general, they were all on Tuesday, Thursday. Then I would do my sales calls and client fulfillment Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I would work on the business on Saturday, and I would do my coursework on Sunday.
Bro, yeah, that's nuts. What were you studying?
So it's funny because I got a marketing degree, but I definitely learned way more in the in the world like online. Getting doing it myself, but also learning from other great people in masterminds. Than at college. What I did get out of college, though, is I had some great professors that I was able to talk with like individually. So even just like I had a really great marketing and sales professor that actually like knew his stuff. Like he was still doing like sales consulting and marketing, and he knew his stuff. Professor Glennon, and I had another one, Burton Cowden, who was my entrepreneurial advisor, who was really great as well. So I had a couple really great professors there and some more, but those are the main ones that I was able to develop like a one-on-one relationship with. And then I also had the entrepreneurship club, which that was kind of like my legacy that I left there, because I basically was the president of that, kind of grew it from like a couple dozen people to over 150 people by the time.
But what college was this? This is in Massachusetts?
UMass Amherst, yeah.
Yes,
So yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Okay, so you start AdOutreach, which is essentially like I consider it like a YouTube ad agency, yeah? Yeah,
more consultancy now. So originally it started as an agency. Now it's more of a hybrid. So we'll do consulting, and we also have a coaching program around YouTube ads as well.
So why do most people sleep on YouTube ads in your opinion?
I think the big reason that people sleep on it is familiarity. They know Facebook ads and meta ads. They see a lot of people doing it. I would say the thing that Meta and Facebook has going for it is easier to set up and start really quickly. That being said, one of the big benefits of YouTube, even though there's a little bit more of a barrier of entry, right? The video that you have to create is a little bit different. You have to put a little bit more thought into it. It also, there's a little bit more optimization in the front end. But once you get a YouTube ad that performs really well, there's a lot of scalability and stability with YouTube ads. So what I would say is like a lot of people, they're looking for that kind of quick hit, just like jump in. Meta ads are really fast and easy to set up initially, but you're going to get a massive long-term reward and that strong return on ad spend when you're taking advantage of YouTube. And I used to tell people to switch to YouTube. I don't do that anymore. I say just do both. Yeah. Both Meta and YouTube is going to be a great strategy.
Like, is the way to think about YouTube maybe like a video? So like those videos kind of work in perpetuity for a long time. Is it the same way with an ad where it's, once the ad hits, it works for a long time?
Yes, that's what we found is that the creatives will last a lot longer than they will on Meta, just the way that the platform works. It's also more intent-based. So people are going on YouTube looking to learn, whereas on Meta, they're kind of scrolling. So you got to capture their attention. There's a different thing that you're going to do on Meta to have a pattern interrupt to get people to stop, pay attention, versus on YouTube, we want to educate more. We want to provide more value, and we can build the know, like, and trust more and increase the watch rates on things like a VSL. So if you're running a VSL funnel, for instance, right, one of the reasons that we see YouTube ads perform so well to that is because people are already on YouTube watching video content, and they're already looking to learn. And so if you get in front of them at the perfect time, then they click that ad. Now they're, they put in their details. You just got to make it really simple and fast to do that. And once they do that, then all of a sudden they're watching your VSL or whatever it happens to be, and you're going to be able to pull people in a lot more because they're already in a video consumption mode.
So what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes people make? Because obviously you've worked with a lot of people. So what are the biggest mistakes people need to stay away from?
Yeah. So I'll talk about on the creative side, and then I'll talk about on the targeting side. On the creative side, one of the biggest mistakes that people make is not actually providing real value inside of the ad. So on Meta, you can get away with doing kind of a quicker ad because you have the copy of the ad that backs up, like the actual written text copy that backs up the video, if you're doing a video ad or an image creative, whatever it is. But on YouTube, you don't have that. You just have the video, and sound is on by default. So what you say in the video is really important. So actually scripting it out and having a clear, this is what I want to say. Here's some different hooks, the educate call to action. People like us can ad-lib videos a lot better, so that's still good. But for somebody starting out, it's a lot better for them to script it out with a YouTube video because what they say is important. Unlike on Meta, you can kind of get away with just saying something that's going to capture attention, and then the actual copy of the ad can do a lot of the heavy lifting. In the actual ad on YouTube, you need what you say to actually warm people up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What works the best with a high ticket offer in terms of like VSL, webinar, 5-day challenge? Like if someone was going to do YouTube ads, like what do you see is the simplest strategy that works the most often?
Yeah, so VSL is the best one. That is always our standard and control. That's what we recommend if people don't already have a strategy that they're kind of set on, because it makes sense because it's basically what YouTube is. It's what it's built for. Is people are watching content. You get in front of them, whether it's on desktop or mobile, whatever it happens to be. You're getting in front of them with a video that pulls them in, gets them to fill out their details real quick, and you want to have a very simple opt-in page so they can get to the video as quickly as possible. Then they get to the video watch page, and you want to create a VSL that feels like a YouTube video. And that's what a lot of people are doing more and more these days anyways. So this was something that I used to have to really convince people to do because there's kind of that classic VSL, right, that kind of feels a little salesy. You don't want to do that on YouTube. You want it to feel like somebody's watching a YouTube video, and then over time, make sure that you're weaving in all the different notes of a VSL to get people to want to convert. So add to VSL, we're seeing that performs the best. And then on the back end of that, doing a optimizing based on quality. So instead of just going straight to the ability to book a call, actually having an application form where you can send them down different paths, green, yellow, or red, based on how qualified they are. Right. So based on what they answer, and I know these are things that but like somebody watching or listening, they might not. So it's either green, yellow, or red. So based on the answers that they fill out in that application, if they get sent up that green path, you could allow them to book an appointment directly with your advisors.
What form are you using to do that? Is it Typeform?
We're using Typeform, okay. But people can use different ones. But we found that Typeform is the best for us. So green, yellow, or red. So green will go straight to booking a call with an advisor. Yellow can go to an appointment setter call. And then red can go to a downsell. Usually our clients are doing like a $97 a month, kind of membership offer that can at least liquidate. And then the key here is to optimize based on those qualified conversions. Now, you don't necessarily do that initially. Once you have enough data, then you can optimize based on the green path, the qualified leads, and then make sure that you're porting that back to the ad platform. That's also something you could do both.
But when you say optimize, like, do you just mean you only optimize for the pixel to fire on those good ones? Yeah, so that exactly. You would have the other ones be a view conversion, but not actually a conversion that you're optimizing for, and you would set the optimize. So you'd track everything, but you would optimize for the conversions for down the and assuming if it's green, it goes there. The other ones don't, so that's kind of how you would optimize for it.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly.
So you scaled your company past 8 figures. I don't know. So let's say the top 3 things you've learned, because I think there's a lot of lessons to be had. What are maybe the top 3 takeaways that you didn't know then that you know now? Yeah, so that's a great question. So I think one of the big takeaways is just making sure that you're focusing on all areas of the business and not just one. It's easy, especially as me, I love marketing, to get really caught up in marketing. I know people that love sales, they get really caught up in sales. And then some people are more builders, so they get really into the fulfillment. But you have to focus, and also you need great people in each of those areas. So there's the 7-figure view, which is you need to focus on each of those areas. And there's the 8-figure view, which is like you need other people to also focus on each of these areas. And a leader, bringing in new leaders. So I guess that would be another lesson in a second. But you need to make sure that you're
you're looking at not only the marketing side, but also the sales side. The fulfillment is really important with what the results that clients are getting, but also the way that they're feeling throughout the process. The retention on that side is not just about the results, it's also about the experience that they have. And then also operationally, making sure that you have the support you need as a founder and CEO to not get caught up in the weeds and have that operational support. So really having those different, and those are the components for us and for a lot of businesses I see in the space, but whatever that happens to be, whatever those different departments are, that you have the ability to make sure that each of those are flowing smoothly. And then the other thing that I would say, so the second lesson, so that's the first one. The second lesson that I would say is really you have to kind of give up control of certain things to your people, because if you're always the decision maker and the bottleneck, the problem is everything's going to come back to you, and you're going to be the bottleneck for your own company's growth. And that's going to be kind of the case either way. You're always really the bottleneck. Even if you think it's other people, well, you're the one who's either keeping that person in place or not training them. It's a lesson I've learned, and sometimes you need to relearn too. But another big piece is making sure that you have people, especially leaders, that can empower and lift up other people, make decisions on your behalf, and make better decisions than you can because they're more specialized in that thing. So you want leaders in each of your departments that maybe they don't start this way, although depending on where you're at with your in your business journey, eventually you want to hire people just right off the bat that are more have those higher capabilities. But you definitely want them, if they're not there right now, if you're kind of getting into this space, to develop that. Or to hire the people that already have it.
What's a typical day for you now? So, you don't have to get get crazy. Like, you wake up, you do this, you do that. Like, kind of walk people through a typical day for you as a CEO.
Yeah. So, and it also, it's interesting because as the business has grown, it varies more. So in the past, like I said, it used to be kind of more of specifically like just being on these different calls and things. But now I could be going out and speaking at an event. I could be working on my, book. I could be, having conversations with other, high-level, entrepreneurs and business owners. That's another big lesson too, is that you kind of go through this cycle, and then I'll loop back to the question that you just asked. But you kind of go through the cycle of starting off, you want to talk to everybody, but then you realize that your time is really valuable, and you need to protect your time.
Right.
And then you overprotect your time. And then you stop talking to all those people. And then you realize, well, wait a second. No, I actually want to talk with these high-level people. Now, obviously, you want to change the room. You want to be in the right rooms with the right people. But you actually realize that you now have a better filter, but you still want to make sure that you're having those conversations. So you kind of, at least I don't know if you felt the same way, but I kind of went through that of like, oh, I'll talk to anybody. Then it's like, no, my time is really valuable. It's like, you can't get on my calendar. And then it's like, well, wait a second. No, let's actually high-level people, we can go and actually have conversations. I know you do your dinners and stuff. So as an example, like that type of thing. But anyways, looping back, I do have, different, meetings with my team as well. So like on Mondays, I try to have that stacked around more internal meetings. So I'll actually give you kind of a breakdown on a given week if I'm not traveling or speaking at an event or working on a specific project. So in general, Mondays are more internal meetings. And it even goes back to college when I was kind of stacking days. Switching costs can really harm you. So I kind of have different days. So Mondays, more internal meetings. Then Tuesdays is more of my content day. So if I'm doing like a podcast or filming a YouTube video or doing something content related, creating social media content, whatever happens to be. Wednesday is being kind of in the middle of the week. That's a little bit more of a flexible day. Thursday is external meetings. So if I'm going to have meetings with potential higher level clients or either existing clients, or if there's somebody that my team's like, hey, just have this person needs a conversation or whatever to push them over the edge. Again, you go in and out of different things. You talk with people originally, then you get to a certain spot where you don't do it, and then you get to a spot where it's like, oh, this person's got like a really strong business. I want to, if I'm able to, to do that, I actually want a relationship with that person, and if it helps push them over the edge on what we're doing, which is actually something that it's interesting because you actually kind of showed me this. I remember in that mastermind, there was a point where I had gotten off of sales calls, and I remember you kind of hopping out of the room and hopping on like a 5-10 minute call. And I asked you like, what are you doing? Like, you're like, oh yeah, well, I'm just finishing this deal. And I'm like, well, why are you doing that? You got a whole sales team. Like, I have a whole sales team. Like, aren't we told like, here's the value of our time? Like, and I remember you saying, you're just like, well, I'm just going to, I forget exactly what you said, so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it was something along the lines, well, I'm just going to like, if this person just needs a 5-10 minute call, I'm just going to hop on.
Yeah.
And I think I had too rigid of like a structure in my own mind of like, no, I don't do those anymore. My team will do it. Now, it's not just about helping that deal come through, which 5 to 10 minutes is really leveraged anyways. But on the other side, it's also establishing a relationship with a high level person and then the tone that sets as a client. So anyways, that is something that I saw you do. So
yeah, bro, there's a lot of crazy stuff I've done. Anything for the sell. Are you big on any other content channels besides YouTube? Like, if someone's going to produce content, is there any other channels? Obviously, like you're big on YouTube, but any other ones? Yeah,
so that's a great question, and I'm getting more and more into the different ones. I would actually say, ironically, Facebook itself, like Facebook, not even talking about Instagram, like Facebook is. It's a quality play for me. I just have amassed a lot of high quality people in our space, other coaches, consultants, experts, just over the years. I mean, and you remember, like everybody had their stuff in a Facebook group back in the day. Like we're connected with these people. It's really cool to see the growth that people have had. So, the frequency at which I add friends on Facebook is very low. But it's funny because like a lot of the people that I have like that are friends are the people that were like back in the early days, and now they've built out their businesses.
Right.
And of course people follow me too. But on Facebook, I kind of let people a little bit more in behind the scenes, kind of write more text posts. And I translate that over to Instagram and LinkedIn. But I think just being on YouTube being my main platform. So YouTube is definitely my main platform. That's where I focus like the vast majority of my attention. I also have a newsletter as well. So I put attention behind that. But I would say, I know it's ironic because I'm the YouTube, guy, but I've used Facebook for a long time. I've amassed like a strong connection, and I feel like I know how to make like, a post that, it's just kind of a little bit more behind the scenes and to talk about it on there. So that's the other one. But I am looking to expand more. Obviously, I'm on all the platforms.
Sure.
I'm learning LinkedIn more and TikTok is more cross-posting. It's more cross-posting like the YouTube Shorts. To Instagram Reels, TikTok.
I'm kind of surprised you said Facebook. Like you like Facebook better than Instagram, for example?
So I know it's interesting. I just don't spend as much time on Instagram as I do with it's because the reason that I think I spend so YouTube's where I spend the vast majority of my time.
Right.
But on Facebook, so I love watching the videos on YouTube, but on Facebook, it's probably just because I've really curated it over such a long period of time, but I will see posts of people breaking down things. Like I'll see your Facebook posts. I'll see, other people's Facebook posts in the space. And so I think it's like those are the two kind of places. Instagram though, Instagram and LinkedIn is kind of that next tier. And then, and then I would, I definitely am not, I'm not even really interested in fully learning the TikTok side. It's a tertiary platform for me.
My goal at least is I have my team. Like I'm in the process of like I'm testing out content strategists a lot faster. So I had one for a few years, but I think like the mistake I made is like if it's not moving, like you need someone else, right? Because I can't spend full time on it. And so my goal right now is I focus on IG and YouTube. That's kind of the main ones, and then we repost everywhere else. Once I get those really moving the direction I want, I'd honestly like to bring someone in, and then you have like kind of head of contents on different platforms. But at that point, it's like you're spending a lot of money. So to me, it's got to really be producing organically. Like, if you ads, I don't really count that. It's like it's got to really be producing organically. So I have a similar structure to you. So it's like, hey, let's focus on these. All the other platforms, just repost. And it's like that's not the best strategy to get the most out of those platforms. But I think it's a massive distraction to try to have someone do 8 platforms. It's like, dude, like, you got to focus on 1, maybe 2. And then if you're going to do that, you have to bring other people in, I think, that focus on the other platforms because it's a full-time job. I mean, just to think of ideas and to have enough volume, it's a full-time gig. So I appreciate you sharing that. you speak at a lot of events from what I've seen. What's kind of the thought process around that? Like, are you going for deal flow? Is it networking? Is it both? Like, what's kind of the thought process?
Yeah. So this is like the other thing. And actually, this was to close the loop on the other side. This was like probably the third, bigger lesson that I learned is the importance of brand. Once you get to a certain point, and I've seen your evolution with this too, is you just realize that like the brand is really important, but you're also not trying to be somebody else. So your brand of who you are authentically, just getting that out in front of more people, and it all plays together. So it's kind of. It's like there are certain things that are unscalable, but they actually create an impact. Kind of like your dinners or where you talk about anything for the sale, hopping on calls. It's the same thing with me with speaking at these events. I realize that I actually have a ability to do it. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy speaking at events. I enjoy meeting people. I've just been doing it I've been going to events for a long time, so I kind of understand the room and how people are thinking. And then I've now been speaking for several years here at different events, and I've been getting better and better at that.
Right.
And so I think with that, what I would say is it helps grow my brand and positive word of mouth. There's not a whole lot of other ways to really have people feel this immediate know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
If you step on the stage, you share value, and then you have an opportunity of people come up to you to shake their hand and actually meet them. I think it elevates the trust really high, and it creates raving fans, whether they're a client or not. And I think that especially in the space that we're in, with a lot of coaching, consulting, high ticket businesses, it's a tighter knit group than, obviously it's growing and growing, but like, especially at the top in some of the rooms, people know people, right? And so just being there and speaking at different events, if I can speak at, a dozen events, let's say over the course of a year, which I'm also going to enjoy. So that's kind of like, now I do, because I had to kind of, I have started taking real vacations, but it's almost like that's what breaks it up for me. Because I work a ton. I know you do too. Although you're one of the few people that I look at when you post and I'm like, I'm not doing enough. But anyways, it's kind of funny. But I don't know if you feel that way about anybody.
I work a lot, bro. So I don't feel like I could work more, but I appreciate the sentiment. I know.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like I look at I'm like, wow, and but I also know people look at me and they're like, But all that being said, I go when I go to different events. It's the best of both because I actually am able to recharge at the event by not being in the normal kind of day-to-day grind and work. I can go to an event and I am working and there's an outcome for the business, but it's different. And so it resets me and then I can come back.
Yeah.
I also similarly though wouldn't just want to be on the road all the time because that would also wear out. So it's the switching between the two.
That's interesting. Something to share and you could try it is I would say the market shifted, right?
Yeah.
Like I've been doing this 8 years. I think you've been doing it like similar or close.
Yeah.
And things are just like trust is lower now. And so obviously one of the biggest things you do to build trust is like in-person stuff. But the thing I really don't like about in-person is it's not very scalable, right? So you mentioned it a few times, but I started doing these dinners and the thought process was, okay, I can go in, do a 2-hour dinner and get out. An event is like an all-day thing. So I actually this year I went to a ClickFunnels event, I went to a Grant Cardone event, a 10X, and I went to the Go High Level event. And the thought process was like, obviously we're walking around meeting people, getting awards, whatever. But the second thing is that I would do these breakfast clubs. And so I'd invite people up there. And I think ClickFunnels kind of gave me a false sense of hope because we made some sales. I was like, okay, but dude, like I'm pretty big in the ClickFunnels space. So we had 150 people show to the room, right? And I was like, oh, this is great. So I went to these other events and people recognized me, but it wasn't the same caliber.
Yeah.
And then I would the framing was off. And in sales, like that's bad when like people are coming there like a fanboy. And I was like, oh, so they're not really looking to buy. They just kind of want to be in the room. So anyways, long story short, I started doing these dinners because I've been traveling a lot this year. And so I was like, well, hey, if I travel and I do a podcast or I do dinners, then it's all business expense write-offs, right? So I started with that. And then I did these dinners and I wasn't even planning on it, but like they were asking me about the programs I like pitched and they bought. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay. And these dinners cost like what, $500 if you have like 3 people?
Yeah.
So I started doing that. And then now that I'm traveling a lot, what I started doing for cold traffic, and I'm testing it, so I can't tell you, I think it's going to work though, is we're running ads like in different cities. So like big cities, Austin, Miami, Vegas, LA, et cetera. And they fill out an application to come to dinner, and it's just basically like the biggest question is like, what's your Instagram profile, what's your website, and how much revenue do a year, right? We're looking for a threshold.
Yeah.
And then they get hit up by my VA. VA asks for a $100 deposit. They show up to dinner, and the deposit is necessary because like you'll have people who literally will tell you they're coming, they're not going to come, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you get a deposit, you show up, you give them the money as soon as they get there, and then you talk to them. And let's say you have 4 people, it's a 2-hour dinner, 30 minutes a piece, pitch, leave. And then you give them some type of incentive to sign up. And that's what I'm testing right now. But it seems like I like it a lot more than the events because one, it's like it's smaller, it's more intimate, and they're more serious about like they want to meet me, right? So I'm the center of attention. They want to buy my stuff, and so I know there's upsides to events, but in terms of you're just trying to make as much money as possible for the least amount of time, that to me seems the most leveraged in-person thing I've seen. I know Hermosi and Layla are doing. I say Alex. I said Hermosi. Alex and Layla are doing those events.
Yeah.
And they're getting paid a ton for them, so I think it works. But outside of that, I think that's the most leveraged thing I've done because I'll go in for 2 hours. I can get a $50K, $100K deal. I'm like, for 2 hours work, I can't get a 500 CAC on ads ever. Yeah. Right. So, anyways, I just wanted to share that with you too because like I agree with you on the events, but I started doing those dinners just like as an afterthought. And so now what I'm doing is I'm running them simultaneously in different cities, and then as they come through, my VA will try to get 4 to 6 people. Once she gets 4 to 6 people, but hey, Tanner will fly out. I'll fly out, land, go to the dinner, do the dinner, leave.
Wow.
And so again, it's not. I wouldn't say it's like the most scalable, but it's still more scalable than an event because I was initially doing it for events, but I was like, why does it need to be an event? It doesn't even matter. Like as long as it's just people who live in that area, I can do it. So
yeah.
Anyways, I just want to at least share that with you. That may be something you could do.
Yeah, I'm curious and hearing. We'll have to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, because they're working.
Very interesting.
But I haven't tried to scale it yet. So right now, I'm running ads in I want to say 16, 17 cities. $10 a day, dude. I'm getting applications for like $10. And then let's say like it's $100, 10 applications, you get 3 people who put down a deposit. I'll do that all day. And then the deposit is just to show they're serious, right? Like,
yeah.
Because you'll laugh, but like the first time I did it, I was just going and it was like one person. I was like, I'll just go anyways. And then last second when I'm in the air, they would cancel. And I'm like, I'm literally flying here for you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think the deposit's good. But anyways, I'll let you know if it scales. Because like to me, let's say hypothetically I could do anywhere between 4 to 8 a month,
Yeah.
But if I got a client who paid $50K at every single one, and I'm spending a couple $100 on ads, like I'll do that all day because like the ROI is so high.
Yeah.
Right. So, anyways, do you have any non-negotiables that you stick with? So I always think this is an interesting question because some entrepreneurs like swear by like da 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 da, and then some entrepreneurs are like, yeah, dude, I just like wake up whenever and I kind of just work whenever. So I think I know which way you're leaning, but do you have any non-negotiables, like things you have to do or things that you do that you really feel move the needle?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the big thing is I keep a pretty I like to schedule things on my calendar and have a pretty tight kind of calendar
that's
process.
how I thought you were.
I think that's the big thing that I have, and then I'll also schedule out the time that I use to create content to go and if I'm going to events, like all of those things are kind of very much scheduled in, and then leading up to that, I have kind of like. It's not a super rigorous, kind of morning routine. And in fact, I've been working out more and more, not to the degree that you do.
I'm a little psycho.
But actually, I have a funny story. I got to tell this story. It's too good.
Yeah,
it's too good.
Go for it.
So, okay. So I've been working out, a little bit more, and so anyways, but I do it like more in the evenings.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
This is like such a good story.
Yeah, well.
So back when we were doing, so we were at one of the masterminds,
yeah.
And that was also when we were doing some YouTube ad stuff together, helping you with that.
Yeah.
And I remember, because you had been having there was like the Facebook support. That was when Facebook support. I mean, it's still bad, but like it was really awful. And you had an ad on YouTube, and it just had like a disapproval. You're like, oh, this is just like Facebook. Is this going to be an issue? do? And I'm like, oh, well, there's this phone number here. Just call this number and you're going to talk to Google support. And you're like skeptical and you pick up, do you remember this? You pick up the phone, you call Google support. And then the guy is super helpful. He's just like, oh yeah, so you just have to add this little like disclaimer in. And then once you do that, just call right back. My extension is this. And then you're like literally doing it there, like at the event, you add the disclaimer, re-upload the video, re-add the ad, call him back. Or maybe he was still on the line, I forget. But anyways, he was on the line. But by this time he had watched the video. And so, and you're like, all right, is this good? Like, is it approved? He's like, yes, I manually approved it for you, which you were blown away because, it's like Facebook doesn't do that.
Bro.
Just like, yeah, it's manually approved. And who is that in the video? Is that you? And you're like, yeah. He's like, you look good, dude. You're working out, or something like that. And you remember that? Like that was that was hilarious. That was that was such a.
I can't believe you remember that.
I do. Funny. I remember it. Yeah. That was a good.
Funny. So what were you saying before that? You were talking about you're working out.
Yeah. So I have like different. So I'll do those more like basically now I'm at kind of like 3 times a week. So not the same. Is some of what you do. I know you.
Where do you
pretty
train?
Intense.
Do you have like a gym here?
Yeah. So I have my I live in one of the apartment buildings downtown. And we got a solid gym there.
Sick. Okay.
And then I've got a I have, and it's more for the accountability and pushing me because there's obviously a great way with online and I've had online trainers. I had an online nutrition coach, but I have an in-person trainer that comes and just like, and he's got a business where he like sends people to their apartment gyms, which is really interesting. Like you'll find this interesting because you're the whole like training space. So basically his whole thing, this guy Danny has got a company RX Fit, and so they basically send different people to apartment gyms and train there. So their whole thing is like if you live in Austin, it kind of works in a city like Austin, and they target entrepreneurs, high level executives. They're like, you pay a premium, we come to you and your apartment gym.
Nice.
And then I work out. I'm like one of his few private clients.
He doesn't have to deal with all the like overhead. I think that's smart. I think I've heard of this business.
So it's a good one.
Nice.
It's a good one.
Okay, cool, dude. Well, that's sweet. I'm glad that's working out for you. So at AdOutreach, you've been how old is the company now? So
just crossed over 9 years old.
Yeah, so it's 9 years. Do you have not that you need to, but do you have any plans to do anything else? So like, Brandon Carter, you probably know him, like he's King Keto on Instagram. He's been doing, I want to say the same business, like, I don't know how long, I want to say like 15 plus years. And I'll ask him like, do you want to do anything else? And he's always like, not really. I just like want to keep doing this. So are you kind of that mindset, or do you want to move on to other things? Are you starting other things? I don't really know what else is going on with you.
So so software is the big thing that I'm looking to dive into. Okay. And ultimately, I know you have, big aspirations. I'm actually curious to ask you a similar question, whether it's on the podcast or offline.
Sure, you can.
But basically I just know that I can build a $1 billion business, and I want to do that, and I want to go for it.
Nice.
And I also know that it's there are ways to do it with this model, kind of like what Alex and Layla are doing, and and their path.
When you say this model, like what do you mean?
In terms of like the way that you're kind of consulting. Now they're adding in the component of it. So going this way. So it's not the exact model, but basically adding in doubling down on the consulting side, and also having acquisition like portfolio.
It's super smart because he has like Alex has such a huge brand, and so he's like, how can I monetize this so we're not like spending money? So they just do these events. They bring in, let's say 90% of the people are not a fit, but then the 10% that are already there, and then they just invest in those companies. I think it's fucking brilliant. And then on top of that, in my opinion, he's taken out the worst parts of consulting. What's the worst part? Well, the worst part is the ongoing coaching. Why? Because people blame you if they don't get results. They go there and they're like, here's what you do, good luck. And then they send them away. And nobody complains because they paid for an event. Yeah. So I actually love the model. Like the only issue with running that model the same way he is like it would be super expensive with ads. He has such a good brand. That's why it works. But dude, I think it's fucking brilliant what they're doing. I think it's like the smartest thing ever.
It's incredible. And so what I can see is there's a couple paths that I'm thinking. One is a path similar to theirs. So I continue to grow the consulting side, supporting different clients, growing my personal brand, which includes like the book and speaking and different things like that. But then on the other side, I'm also diving into software. So I've got a couple of softwares already. Now they're smaller.
Did you start from scratch or did you buy in?
So actually I started these from scratch. I was looking at acquisitions for software. And I actually at one point had an LOI out, and then the deal fell apart at the last second.
Why?
Well, that one fell apart because the original investors didn't like the valuation and the terms and stuff.
Yeah, I talked to Alex about this before, and I was like, "Yo, how do you come up with valuations?" He's like, "Oh, that's all bullshit." He's like, "There's no profit; it's just totally made up." Yeah. And like, I actually bought into a software company that was negative, and we'll have to see how it turns out.
Yeah.
I'm curious how it's going to turn out, but I like the product.
Yeah.
And the valuation they come up with, I was just like, I mean, bro, but like, it's just all future projections. Yeah. It's just like, it's going to do this. So that I will say, like, we're in the profit and loss world. So I'm like, look, if it's not making profit, whatever they say at the end of the day, it's just completely made up. It's like, if it hits those numbers, but you have no idea if it's going to hit those numbers. So was it similar to you?
Yeah. So it was that, like, what we were going to do made a lot more sense than the investors came in and they basically wanted to triple the valuation, and do it as a last minute, literally an LOI was already signed. Now we're at
that's shady.
It's just a weird,
shady.
So anyways, but also I think that the entrepreneur was in a tough spot because he wanted to do it. And then it was just like, it was like the original, anyways.
He's just trying to get as much money out of it.
No, I don't think it was him. It was the investor. The investor was basically like, but also he didn't stand up to the investor. Anyways, without getting too deep into all this stuff. But basically, so that didn't end up happening. So I built from scratch, and I actually have a CTO and a co-founder. Nice. So I'm the majority owner, and then I've got a
Did you find him on your own, or how'd you find him?
So through a mutual connection. Nice. So I don't know if you remember like Jasper, Jasper AI, obviously was huge, especially, and still now they've transitioned to enterprise, but obviously in the early days of AI.
That's a copy, right? Right?
Yeah, it's for copywriting and stuff like that. And they were even before ChatGPT came out.
Yeah,
that was the thing. Like, exactly. Everybody was using it.
Did they sell in time, or has their valuation gone down since ChatGPT?
So I don't know all the ins and outs because I haven't kept in as close a touch with them. So Dave Rogenmoser, kind of created it,
Rogan,
and
right?
he's awesome.
Yeah,
it's been a little minute since I've talked with him. Yeah. We'll text every once in a while, but he used to have an office like literally like a couple block or like one block down from my office. Yeah. And that was also one of the reasons I moved to Austin is when I came out here, I'm like, what entrepreneurs do I know? And I'm like, oh, I know, Dave and Austin Distel who used to run their marketing. Yeah. And I've stayed in closer touch with them. But anyways, basically, I remember going and hanging out at their offices, and I was like one of the early people that signed up for it. I just saw their hockey stick growth. They raised at over $1 billion valuation, like right before ChatGPT, came out.
And
I know you don't know.
I'm curious what happened because as soon as ChatGPT came out, I'm sure that valuation would go down because it's like, oh, we just use ChatGPT.
Yeah, which is like
kind of tough. Can do everything. Yeah, which that is the risk of tech is like super big upside, but like there's downside. Mm-hmm. I have some stories about like why I've built my tech the way I have, but it's like I kind of like saw the writing on the wall. I was like, I don't want to compete in the general space. I think you got to get super niche because like if they, for example, did copy for gardeners or whatever, like that still would like give them that edge because like, oh, ChatGPT is a general and it's not like as specific. I don't know. That's at least my thought.
Exactly. And I think that's like one of the things that I think is a valuable lesson there. And they did switch over to enterprise, and I know that they're and they're well, or at least at that point were well capitalized, and so to make pivots and stuff. But in terms of, I think it's like the team is like now they brought in more different people. But so going back like 3-4 years, as that was like really taking off, I remember having a conversation with Dave and telling him that acquisition fell through, and he's like, well, you should just build it yourself. And so they had a developer that was on their team and so was like kind of on those projects and stuff, and then just was for whatever reason basically was like had transitioned off of that team and was focusing on some other things. Like, hey, I think that you and this person would really hit it off and be able to build something great. So that's where I found Greg, my CTO and co-founder. Is he used to be over there at Jasper and Proof, which was like the original pop-up widget, and so. We created keywordsearch.com, which is AI.
I remember that.
For YouTube and Google ads. So that's been around for 4 years. And we've continued to refine it with AI. The thing with that, though, the lesson that I've learned is it's very niched down to a B2B audience that it's like if it has a certain cost for me to acquire a client on the consulting and coaching side, it's like, wait a second, I know that it does, that obviously I can make a big return for a consulting client, but I know what my costs are to acquire somebody like that. And I'm trying to reach the exact same people over here on like a $97 to $297 a month SaaS.
Yeah, that's too low.
Without actually having venture capital and it being a niched market. I think the way to sell keyword search, if I really wanted to like blow it up, would be to build, but I'd have to spend a lot more, I would need to almost like build it as like a software sales team. So what I'm doing instead is looking for that next like software that can really ramp up. So I actually launched, this is just something that we were testing.
Yeah.
We launched it and now it's like it's doing well. So now it's like, all right, well, we should focus on this. Thumbnailcreator.com. So it's an AI YouTube thumbnail creation software. And so again, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're taking these image models that already exist. We're combining them together because we realized that, so like Google's, Nano Banana is really good at the images, but then one of the other, AI image softwares is better at like text. And so we can pull that over. So we can actually run it through multiple different things and basically train it on the top performing YouTube thumbnails to create an AI YouTube thumbnail generator. And so, we do that as like a lower price, like $9 or $29 SaaS. And it's really interesting because, we're getting pretty low cost like credit card trials. Like we're talking like $15, $16 for like a credit card trial. The thing is though, we just have to increase the LTV on it because right now, like there's people that come in and they're like power users and they love it. And there's people that come in, they type in the most basic, like, I want a thumbnail of a dog. And then it shows them a thumbnail of a dog. And they're like, and they're like, oh, well, I didn't want that. Like, it's not the golden retriever I wanted as an example. And then they unsubscribe.
So you're basically doing low ticket SaaS, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm more of I have a higher preference for high ticket SaaS. It's a little bit tougher because it has to have a lot of value. But I remember like watching Alex Becker and just seeing what he's done with Hyros and like, let's say, I think on average there's like $1,500 a month or something.
Yeah.
And they can't cancel. So it has to be like super valuable. So it has to be something that's actually going to create revenue. Yeah. And so it's a lot harder to do that. But what I like is then you can spend money to acquire customers at scale. Right. And so that's like that's actually what I've done. So I've been working on mine for the last 2 years. It's launching, like it's in beta right now. And it's annoying that it's taken 2 years. Like, trust me, I'm just sitting here like, oh my freaking gosh, when's this going to be done? But the funny part is the way you found your CTO, that was interesting. The way I kind of found my guy, and he's not technically my full-time CEO yet. Because the first software I built was a total bomb. I mean, I spent $250,000. I mean, I did everything wrong. This one, the way I actually found him was his business is like he builds apps for creators. So I was like, hey, look, I'll let you do it, but it's got to be a super small budget. Like I got to see deliverables, I got to see progress, et cetera, et cetera. So, but it's gone so well. And the reason I think it's gone well is he understands kind of like being a business owner, like management and like all those things. And so it's gone like super, super well. And when it launches and as soon as it starts making capital and money, because like the way we're going to launch is like we're going to have these beta testers come in, then 30-day trial, and then we're going to upsell. Potentially he might turn to a CTO. We'll see. But anyways, it's not neither here and there. I think with yours, like what you're going to have to do ultimately is like you're going to have to, it's got to like probably spread word of mouth. And that's the hardest part because it's got to do that to a degree regardless. But if you don't have a high ticket SaaS, it's just tough to run ads because you just won't make enough money back. Yeah. I mean, that's at least what I've seen because this company I invested in, a good product. But like now looking at it, I'm just like, dude, they can't acquire a customer. And so if they can't acquire a customer, if the software is not good enough, like at the end of the day, it's like, if people are not sticking and they're not buying, it's like you're kind of for lack of a better word. So that's cool you're doing that. The other industries, there's only 3 industries I think you can really make $1 billion. It's like either private equity, so like Hormozy, tech, so like Becker, Sam Evans, or hedge funds, right? I mean, hedge funds, you definitely. So is there a reason like why you've gone all in on tech?
Well, the first 2 though are the ones because I'm basically I'm going in on the first 2. So hedge fund I know nothing about.
Right.
That's not what I'm going to do. So basically I'm actually opening myself up. So you're great minds think alike. You're seeing the exact same thing that I'm seeing. Is there's those 3 main ways, and obviously you talk about the finance, so hedge fund, or I would just like kind of put it into like a finance, or or even like real estate's like a little different, but like kind of those like finance deals, things like that.
Yeah.
Versus either private equity and tech. And so basically I'm actually giving myself a shot at private equity or tech, whatever creates escape velocity.
Yeah.
Because I'm continuing to grow my consulting side, grow my personal brand, so I could go the Alex Rosie route, or I could go the Sam Ovens.
Yeah, I like now, because I've had my consulting company for a while. Like, really, at this point, it's more of an incubator for portfolio companies. Like, I'm not even trying to scale it. I'm just like, look, I want to bring people in, take the best clients, and then offer them a deal. Because I honestly, some of my best portfolios, that's how they come in. They come in, they pay me a ton of money, they crush it as clients. I'm like, oh, you're a hard worker, you have a unique offer. Hey, do you want to be a portfolio? And then there's like built-in trust, and so that's kind of why I like it. I'm not really doing it for like growing the consulting company, because like there's limitations to it, right? So that's cool to hear, man. Like, I hope you freaking crush it. So before we wrap up, you have a new book. Talk about your book real quick.
Yeah. So the book, it's Video Authority: Art and Science Converting Viewers into Clients. So yeah, really excited about it. It's going to be coming out very shortly. Book? So this is a early copy. So this is a proof copy, but this is your copy as well. So you can see the little banner on it.
Not for resale.
Exactly, not for resale, but I'm not selling it. This will be your copy.
Sick,
one of the first 10 copies. So there you go. So, but anyways, yeah. So Video Authority: Art and Science Converting Viewers into Clients. I'm really excited about it. It's you can go to videoauthoritybook.com. That's where we have people join the wait list, and then we'll just switch that over to Amazon once it's out. But basically, it's going to dive into everything around how to use video to grow and scale, especially in expert-based business. But this can work for anybody who's looking to use video. But essentially, how to position yourself as a video authority, both with ads, because YouTube ads is a big area that I look at, YouTube channel as well, but also video cross-platforms. It really talks about how video is the best way to build a know, like, and trust. It breaks down how you're using video in all stages of your business. It's not just about the ads. It's also about the organic content that you create. It's about, hopping on, like if you're going on Zoom calls, you're on video. If you're, delivering your coaching program with, trainings or course content, that's also on video. So how can you set yourself up as a video authority? We talk about confidence on video, being the authentic authority, and also how to actually craft those ads. So the hook, educate, call to action, all the different components of winning ads, and then how to target them in front of the right people.
Oh, nice. Okay, so kind of giving over the YouTube playbook a little bit.
Exactly, the full YouTube playbook.
Cool, I love it, man. Well, guys, make sure to check out his book. What I want to do real quick is a lightning round before we wrap up. So just kind of some rapid fire questions. You can take your time on it, but just kind of question after question. So you've ran a lot of YouTube ads. Like, what's the most powerful YouTube ad you've seen? Like, or maybe not the most powerful, just the best, but it can't be yours. Like anyone else's.
Oh, okay. Oh man, the best YouTube ad that I've seen. That's a hard one. I'll give you one that I really like recently. And I'm trying to remember his name, but I know it's contentcreator.com. I really like those ads that I've been seeing where they've been showing, how to, because they teach like more, they have like an AI kind of offer.
Yeah.
I really like it. They've done a good job with like putting AI into the different, have you seen these ads where the guy snaps his fingers, it turns into, I feel like those, and I'm also seeing that a lot more. I've got like an ad spy part to the keyword search software. I know they're spending a lot on that ad.
Of course.
You can look at the stats. I think that's a really good one right now that I like, and there's a lot of, it's hard to pick.
A guy I think of usually is I don't know him personally, but the Sabri Subri guy, he just does.
I love his
just
stuff
because
too.
He puts a lot of effort into it, so they stand out, and it's because they're very unique in that sense. So I don't know how well they convert. I'm sure they convert pretty well, but I mean, it's like probably a 4 to 5 hour project at least, if not longer, where they're like shooting different areas and stuff like that. But that's the one I think of. Best book you've read, like any book at all?
Yeah. So I think that the best. So that's also really hard. Well, I'll give a couple examples. So I'll give the cliche example because this is how I live my life. It's one of the best, best books, like period. But then I'll give an example that people might not be as familiar with. So How to Win Friends and Influence People. I love that book. One of the first ones I read. I reread it.
That's a good
It's
one.
like, that's the playbook. Like I strive to embody that. And I think it's classic and timeless. I also love The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. I don't know. Have you read The Infinite Game? That's a really good one. It talks about how the businesses that are able to see the best success long term, I definitely recommend it for you,
I'm gonna write that down.
are the businesses that focus on playing an infinite game, beating themselves versus beating their competition. And so everybody knows, or not everybody, but a lot of people know Start With Why. But I really like The Infinite Game because it talks about like basically Simon Sinek looks at what created the businesses that actually endure generations and generations. And also what creates the best businesses that we see today. And one of the ones he looks at too is like, basically he looked at the success of Apple and the iPhone, for instance, right? The focus that they had was on beating themselves, continuing to create a new and better product. And he actually showed, he was talking about this with the iPod versus the Zune, the Microsoft Zune.
Yeah.
So he gave keynote talks. He's been doing this for a long time. He gave a keynote talk at Apple, and he gave a keynote talk at Microsoft. When he gave a keynote talk at Microsoft, all they were talking about was how the Zune was better than the iPod. The Zune is better. We're going to beat Apple. It's got all these features that are better. Their executives wanted to ask them if they thought it, like show him the Zune, and they were excited when he looked at it, and they're like, can't you see how these features are better than Apple? Versus he went over to, and I'm paraphrasing, it's in the book. He went over to Apple and he gave his talk. And they did not mention a single word about Microsoft, the Zune. All they focused on was, here's what we're doing for our customers. Here's what we're doing for our clients. Here's how we're going to one-up ourselves. Here's how we're going to create, something better than ourselves and each next generation. And so he was in the car with one of the Apple executives, and he wanted to kind of stir the pot a little bit. So he's like, well, I was just at Microsoft the other week, and they showed me the Zune, and it looks pretty good. You might have some competition on your hands. And the person turned to him and said, I'm sure, and then didn't say anything after that. And basically it was just like they're not going to get baited into looking at the competition side. Yeah. They're just going to focus on playing the infinite game, one-upping themselves, and focusing on the customer and the client. So I think it's a really valuable lesson.
Yeah, I'm going to check that book out. It sounds good. What's a question I should have asked you that maybe a question I should have asked you that I didn't that would be helpful for the audience? And if you don't know one, that's okay. But like, what's something, a topic or question that's like, hey, dude, you should have asked me about this, and this is what I would have shared about.
Yeah. So one thing that we didn't talk about is a strategy like a tactical strategy outside of even the YouTube ad side that I see working, that is a really big no-brainer for anybody that's already, like this is anybody who's listening who, is actually already running ads, they're already bringing people in, is omnipresent retargeting. So yes, I'm a big advocate for adding YouTube ads to what you do on the front end. And I do believe you want to diversify your leads on the front end sooner rather than later. That being said, one of the biggest low-hanging fruits that you can do is on the back end, add in other retargeting platforms, because it is, nothing in life is guaranteed, but it is the closest thing you get to that upside that you are looking for, where it's like, you literally have these people that are already opting in. You can take your leads, and the people going to your website, minus all the people that have already converted, and then just take that and say, oh, I want to retarget these people, not just on, Facebook or on YouTube, but on the other platforms. So, if you're doing, a lot of people are probably doing meta ads, so they can go over and start by retargeting on YouTube, and then adding in image ad retargeting, and then retargeting on some of these other platforms as well. Even LinkedIn retargeting, right? There's so much that you leave on the table by not warming up your leads. Think about your leads like popcorn kernels. You want to put them in the microwave, turn that on, warm them up from all directions, and you're going to be able to get a quick, get some quick wins, but also sustainable wins. You set those campaigns up, and those are, really like, long-term set it and forget it style campaigns. If you have the right, retargeting ads that remind people about your offer, why they opted in the first place, handle objections, maybe you have a testimonial in there that's going to lead people to taking action.
Do you do it separately on the platforms, or do you just do a Google Display Network where it just shows everywhere?
So we'll do different platforms, but we will use Google Display Network to be able to show up on all kinds of different websites.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how it's been for you, but like I've been running ads every year for forever, and it's funny. Like some years, like Facebook would crush, and then some years it's terrible, and then some years Instagram's great, and some years it's terrible, and some years YouTube, and like it'll just out of nowhere. Have you experienced something similar?
Yeah, I think exactly. I think there's and it's different for different people at different times is the thing too. So sometimes the platform, sometimes there is an overall thing. So like if Meta makes a shift, with Facebook or Instagram or With Google, they've rolled out some new things where sometimes when it gets rolled out, it's not as good right off the bat, and then it gets, better. So sometimes it's really hitting. Same thing with Meta, right? It's like right now, it's like some of the new like Andromeda like updates and stuff like that. Yeah. So essentially, what I've seen is the best way. The thing that's important is to stay on top of what the changes are. So like when YouTube rolls out a change, same thing with if Meta rolls out a change, you need to be revising your playbook to what is working. Where people run into issues is they just try to continue to do the old strategy. When something changes, whether that's with Facebook, the Andromeda update, or that's with YouTube when they did the demand gen update like a year ago. Right. So you need to make sure you have a playbook that's adapted to that you're testing. And to answer your question, though, there are ups and downs in different platforms, and that's why you want to use multiple platforms. Yeah. And I used to be the person that was like, YouTube beats Facebook, just go all in on YouTube. But I'm not that person anymore. What I will say is that I'm a huge believer in the power of YouTube and what you can do on YouTube. But I think ultimately you want to be omnipresent with your ads. If you're looking to especially build an 8-figure, but more and more, even 7-figure business, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And not just YouTube, like or not just Meta. Like you want to have multiple platforms.
No, that's a good point. Good share. Aleric, if people want to find more about you or work with you, where can they go?
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I've got the Video Authority book, so videoauthoritybook.com. Also, I've got a free gift for everybody who is watching and listening. I know some people might want to dive deeper into the YouTube ad side. So they can just go to adoutreach.com/gift. That's ADOUTREACH.com/GIFT. AdOutreach.com/gift. And they can download my 19-page YouTube ad strategy PDF. And there's also some additional trainings there. And of course, I'm on YouTube. Just look up my name, Aleric Heck, and every social media platform.
Cool, man. Well, dude, it's cool to see like how much you've grown. I still think you're a young buck. You're like young 20s. And I can't wait to see where you go, because I think you got a lot ahead of you and you're a smart guy and you work really hard. So glad we got to reconnect, and I look forward to seeing where you go, bro.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.